Welcome in, everyone, to episode 96 of the Battlecast podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Peng, joined by my co-host, Speedy Chief 2, and our very special guest, DPhiE. How's it going, DPhiE?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me on. Such an honor.
Yeah, I just completely skipped over Speedy there, but it's fine. He's
it's okay.
He's
We
have
an esteemed guest here today. I'm really excited to welcome in DPhiE as well, and I promise I'm going to try my best to say it correctly. DPhiE. I'm sure we'll get to all that.
I noticed that the first time too. What? Okay, I feel like we talked about this many times. So I just need to know again. Well, say what you used to say for any new listeners, and then explain why you used to say it. Right?
Yeah, Caleb's like, all right, present to the class. Why you had an accent in class? I used to say
I actually did a really bad accent in class. Actually, maybe I should.
I've heard this story. I've heard this story, and it's a great story.
I'll say for episode 100, but go ahead.
It's unforgettable. So I used to say defy, kind of like DEFY, like defy the odds is what I used to say.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of fell into it. I don't know. Just kind of fell into it.
You're the only one in the world that I know that pronounces D with the duh, but
in the world, I don't know.
In the world, yeah. You know how some countries they pronounce Z like Z, and they say like H like H. I think Z is actually in the UK. They say Z.
Yep,
it's like the
Canada.
original English. Oh, Canada too. Yeah. I think it's the original English pronunciation. It's not Z. It's just Z. They'll be like XYZ, like if they're kind of the ABCs.
True. I've heard that before. Yeah, I need everybody to weigh in. I mean, we're like 2 minutes in. I need people to let us know if they've ever heard duh.
Don't do this. The public's never on your side. Remember that disastrous poll you had with the beard shaving thing?
Dude, maybe one day they will be.
The DPhiE poll's going to be even worse for you.
maybe one day they'll be on my side. Who knows?
But
anyway. Yeah,
DPhiE would not be correct because my name origin is from Delta D Phi Epsilon, and with that difference, I have had people say DPhi because the Greek letter phi is actually pronounced phi in other places of the world. So DPhi Epsilon, it would like phi in science is in math like that letter. It does have some alternate pronunciations, but the way I've always said it is, I'm Stephanie Christine DPhiE250, or just DPhiE is what I prefer to be called.
Where does the 250 come from?
In my chapter of my sorority, which is what Delta Phi Epsilon is, I was the 250th member of my chapter.
Oh, okay.
They call it a scroll number.
So your sorority was actually fairly newly formed on your campus, right? Yeah,
it
250 was. Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on the sorority size. I know at least my school, some of the sororities, it would be like their incoming class would be like 20, 30 something people. It was like a middle-sized school. So, wow. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, welcome in. We're just going to give a rundown for anyone that doesn't know who you are. I feel like most of our listeners should know who you are if they tune into any official, Play Pokemon Championship Series stream. Not any, but you're on a lot of them. So, but if people don't know, feel free to. What's your origin story? How did you get into Pokemon in general? Right, because some of us dabbled in Pokemon beforehand. Some of us, this is just like their first ever Pokemon game.
Yeah, no, I am an original. I think it was my 8-year-old Christmas. I was 8 and I unwrapped the Pokemon Game Boy Color. It was the translucent one, so it wasn't the opaque purple, but it was like the light purple translucent Game Boy Color. And I had Pokemon Blue version was where I started. And then, I continued playing Red and Yellow and Gold, Silver, Crystal, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. And then I stopped around that point, around Generation 4-ish is where I stopped playing, which I think is a story for a lot of people. Like there's a point where you kind of never forget about Pokemon, but you put it down. But and then, I picked up Pokemon Go and day one player for Pokemon Go as well. And I played, I think a lot of people too. I took a short break, not as like years like some people, but you play really hard that first summer. And then I live in the frozen north. It gets cold in the winter. It's not as fun to play Pokemon Go, especially those early days when there wasn't a whole lot to do. Yeah. wasn't really fun to play outside. So I did take a short break, but I was still playing when like raids first dropped.
Mhm.
So I remember all of that. But that's really my history with getting into Pokemon and Pokemon Go.
Yeah, that's something because me and Speedy were both in the South. I think you were in the South at
Mhm.
the time too, right? Because I remember
was.
in the wintertime, I was like, man, it's kind of chilly to be walking around. But then I'm thinking, like, how do people in the north? Because I was in Atlanta, Georgia, so it wasn't that cold either, right? It was like 30 something
Chilly.
degrees, yeah, chilly, right? But I was just like, how did people play when it was like snowing out, right? I
In
remember
their
thinking that.
cars.
Yeah, yeah, in
In
their
their
cars.
cars.
What's his name? I don't know if you two have ever seen that guy. I think his name is like Bentim1. He was like an old school YouTuber. He doesn't play Pokemon Go anymore, but he was a big grinder.
Mm.
He does like I think he does like Boom Beach and like Clash of Clans stuff. He does like other mobile games, but he was one of the original like content creators with like Trainer Tips and Mystic 7 and stuff like that. But I think he was in Wisconsin, and yeah, it was snowing a lot of times. He would just be driving around, and his I think now wife would just be in the car sleeping at night when he'd be like
Mhm.
driving around like this like lighthouse loop, like catching Pokemon because it was like it's just way too cold. I remember he was hatching a bunch of 10K and he got like 2 Snorlaxes and he like jumped in a pile of snow to celebrate. I was like,
It snowed today by me.
did
It
it?
snowed today.
Oh
It
my
is
goodness.
Wow.
April 24th. And I'm sure it's not done. Like we've gotten some freak snowstorms in May before. So it is the north.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least you get most of the seasons, right?
Yeah.
But-
Like
That's
autumn
also true.
colors are so beautiful.
Hmm.
Would not
Mhm.
give that up. And also there's no hurricanes or giant spiders and snakes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The insects are all dead for like half the year.
Ooh,
So
ooh,
there are
that must be
benefits. There are benefits.
Yeah, there definitely are. The bugs in the south are pretty wild. Even the ants were pretty wild. Like I saw someone kick an anthill, which like I don't know why they're kicking an anthill. That someone might have been me. I don't know. My memory's hazy. It was me and my friend. But in Atlanta, I remember someone kicked an anthill. It was like giant, right? It was like a foot
Yeah.
high, and they like rebuilt
Mhm.
that anthill like within a few hours. Like
Yep.
even the ants were way more aggressive, and most of the bugs were just bigger in the south.
Yeah. I remember being a kid running around barefoot and just accidentally standing in one spot for too long and then feeling my foot just light up on fire because I had some ants that had crawled over and bitten my feet.
What?
So,
Were these like fire
definitely-
ants? What do you? Why
yeah,
are they?
fire ants. Yeah, definitely. The
Dude,
southern
one fire ant
experience.
is a lot too. You had a whole pack on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I stepped on a
Plenty of
bumblebee
times.
once, but that was in
Oh, it's a
Connecticut, so that
bumblebee.
wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't even Georgia. What do you mean? Oh, it's a bumblebee. You want to step on a bumblebee?
Dude, no, but it's not a regular bee or a wasp. Come on, bumblebees are like
I-
gentle giants.
I also like had a whole hive of wasps sting me. Actually, that's a story for another time too. Yeah, I thought it was my friend thought it was a treasure chest. I knew it wasn't, but it was a beehive, a wasp hive.
Only bee I'm interested in is Vespiquen. That's it.
Nice.
don't-
Good
Anything
choice.
else is just nah, no thank you.
Yo, Vespiquen was fun back in the old Silph days. But yeah, let's go back in time there a little bit. So you said you got back in during when Raids came out, right? And then were you like once PvP dropped, you're like, oh, this is my jam, or like it took a second, or like what when did you enter the PvP scene?
I remember doing the very first Boulder Cup in the Silph Arena. In my community, so that was really fun. We did a little like test tournament. We got a little group together at someone's house and we ordered pizza and just tried it to see, how is this going to work? And then we opened it up to our wider community. And I just remember that was really fun. I did not do double Skarmory strats. I was not a degenerate.
I was. That was a triple in one point T-Gen too. Wait, so what was do you remember your team off the top of your head?
Now I'd have to look it up, but it's on my Silph card, which is nice.
Okay.
We can always go back and look at those.
I will pull that up while you're talking, actually, if you want to talk about the rest of your PvP journey.
Sure. So obviously this is all before Go Battle League, but there was a couple other members of my community who liked PvP and played it a lot, and I wanted to be better than them. I wanted very badly to be able to win. And I found out one of the people that I really wanted to beat, his name was Jojo. And he was in Zionic's Discord. And he was part of Zionic's patron community and got, coaching from Zionic. I was like, well, clearly this is the secret sauce. Clearly this is what people need to do. So I was like, I'm going to one up his patron tier. I'm going to do one better than what this guy is doing. And like, it was my proudest moment, like the first Silph tournament that I won and I beat him.
Nice.
That felt so good. But Zionic was a big part of me getting into PvP. Believe it or not, Zionic used to cover the Sylph Arena way back in the day,
Mhm.
a long time ago. For anyone who's newer to the scene and maybe doesn't remember, it wasn't always GBL content.
Yeah, he was.
No, sometimes
that was
sometimes
the
I feel
start.
like a dinosaur, right? When we talk about Sylph, but that's where it was at when there was no structure for competing. Otherwise, Sylph was it.
Here's the thing: we shouldn't feel like dinosaurs. We should just feel like we should feel wise, because it wasn't like people weren't alive back when we started. They didn't play Sylph, right? They just weren't sylphing, right?
Mhm.
We just have a wealth of wisdom. But I do have your team here.
Okay.
You had, so your first one, I guess you tied for first. Tied for gold. You had Poliwrath, Whiscash, Gliscor, Metagross. That's spicy. Hitmonchan and Breloom. Double fighter strats. Double water too.
Nice.
And then the next one you brought the same team. You just switched up the order of the yeah. So pretty good. You
Metagross
see-
would not be something I would bring today. And that was still like, I was just learning. That was like, we're going to
Yeah.
try this out. I'm going to bring things that are eligible. But yeah, I'd still use Whiscash today. I still use Poliwrath today.
Yeah. Did you use the Metagross, or you just had it?
I feel like I
Bench
probably
pressure.
tried it and then it was
Mm-hmm.
awful. And then I just didn't use it anymore.
I was gonna
It was-
say somewhere Butters is smiling. You know, Butters loves Metagross and Shadow
Metagross is great.
Metagross.
Mega Metagross is going to be so good.
Yeah.
I've got a
That'd be
Hundo Best
great.
Buddy that I'm just ready to have for the
Apparently,
Mega.
a Hundo Shadow Metagross hits harder than a Mega Metagross at least in raids. I don't know in PvP. Kind of wild, right? I don't know.
Wow.
I don't have the resources to make the Shadow Hundo, let alone
just-
have the Shadow Hundo.
You can just claim whatever you want. It's on the internet. Just
yeah,
make those
yeah,
claims.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Take
source.
somebody else's screenshot.
Source is just trust me, bro. Just trust me, bro.
Yeah. There you go.
It's funny. I'm looking at your Sylph card now, and I see you use some Bastion in a ranked tournament too. So it's pretty
Yep.
solid.
I built a
pretty
new
solid.
one since then. I had
Really?
my old Basti with the
Mhm.
old stats.
The Kingdom Cup one, yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a newer Basti now. I was playing Copycat in the most recent GBL meta. Just whatever I lost, I just copied that person's team. And I won too many games with Bastion on. It felt shameful.
What was the team? What was the team that you ran?
It was Basti, Defense Deoxys, and something else. Just
Shadow
recently.
Vic.
Oh no. I don't use shadows, Caleb.
Oh,
You know
true.
better.
Yeah. Okay. You need to explain this before we go any further, right?
Yeah.
So DPhiE actually doesn't use shadow Pokemon. In fact, you purify every shadow Pokemon except for you have one that's not purified, right?
I have
Legendary.
a few just
A
because
few,
like
okay.
sometimes I like to show people like, look at this, 0-15-15 Shadow Lapras or whatever
I'll
that's
never
just
use.
gonna sit here. So I have some,
Okay.
but a lot of the times I purify them because it really bothers me that in the narrative of the game, these Pokemon are suffering, and you're supposed to purify them, and it just bugs me to no end that Niantic decided, let's make the shadows the only viable ones, with the exception of Sableye. And that's like Shadow Sableye is still really good. We've been seeing that from Spicy and other people. Like Shadow Sableye is still really good. So it kind of bugs me that like, why would you create this narrative to subvert it in that way?
I mean, I'm like a lawful evil kind of person, so I don't really mind. I don't know what Speedy's excuse is or anyone else's excuse is, but I feel no regret over keeping them shadow. But
it feels wrong to me. And then like I have this little like 5-year-old guy, like a really close friend of mine, her son, and he was watching a Play Pokemon cast and was really excited, to see Aunt Steph on the TV. And he's like, he had his mom text me that day, why are they using shadow Pokemon, Aunt Steph? Aren't they in pain? And it just
Oh no.
no.
And they do look super angry all the time, right? And
yeah,
and
they
to your
look
point,
so upset.
and to your point, DPhiE, it says this is the official text, right? After winning a battle against a Team Go Rocket member, the trainer will have an opportunity to rescue the shadow Pokemon by catching it and purifying it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have
It's like-
rescued it. I just kidnapped it. I didn't actually,
But I see
I
what you
didn't
mean,
actually
though.
save
It's like it's like, wow, these people have these really terrible weapons that they're using, and these Pokemon are suffering, and then you like fight them and you catch it, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm basically like Team Rocket
Yeah,
myself, right? I'm gonna use the same
exactly.
weapon.
But one Pokemon you were alluding to, Caleb, one Pokemon
Mhm.
I have not purified yet, and I have full intentions to. I have a 98% Shadow Mewtwo.
You should pull it up for the stream for the YouTube viewers in case they just show
I
them the IVs. Yeah.
I'll screenshot it and send it to you, and you can put it in the
Yes,
YouTube.
Okay.
I'll do that. Yeah. No, hey, she's not kidding either. I looked through her entire Sylph card and not a single Shadow Pokemon in use in any tournament, which is
Wow,
I don't know. That's
which is
wild.
cool.
It's impressive.
Yeah,
It's impressive.
very
You should watch
impressive.
out. She's got all the return strats. Yeah. Even Machamp.
Dusclops?
Even
Yeah.
Machamp is wild too, because
Yeah.
Shadow Machamp like is almost everyone uses that, but you're like, no, I'm not
No,
using it.
I'm gonna use my regular one.
All right.
And there's trade-offs. There are trade-offs. You can tank a little bit more.
Mhm.
Maybe you get to that next charge move because you can survive the hit. It's not like, regular or purified Pokemon are objectively worse.
Right.
There's give and take there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. But anyway, speaking of your Sylph card too, it looks like you've been an active Sylph member for since the start, right? I mean, even Speedy's Chief has hung up the hat a little bit, our previous world champion in some ways. But you're powering through every single cup, Polka Dot even the most recent one, and factions as well too.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell us about your Sylph journey.
Yeah, just again, when we started, it was really the only PvP you could do that was structured. And again, I cannot thank Zionic enough. I'd love to meet him in person someday because I have not yet got to do that. But he was a big part of like really inspiring me to do PvP and how really cool and awesome it is. And then, yeah, I just continued. I found some online communities back when remote tournaments were really, really small and you had to be ultra friends with everybody. So I had a couple really small communities in the podcasting sphere where based on podcasts I would get together. And then I had some local tournaments too, pre-2020. And I kept doing the Sylph Arena after COVID happened. We all went home and you could have giant remote tournaments and you no longer had to be, it could be with anybody. You didn't have to have any friendship level. For a little while, I think you did have to send a gift to them. Like you had to be at one friendship level, so you had to have at least enough gifts, right, to be able to battle. But now you don't even have to do that.
Yep.
So yeah, and I've just kept going. I'm still really close with a lot of communities, especially I like to participate in the GoCast podcast every month. I have a couple others, Girls at PvP. They run a bigger tournament and then some smaller tournaments as well each month. And I really like to participate in those because it's fun. It's more fun for me than, just open great, like, Noctowl Trevenant.
Lantern, yeah.
Noctowl Trevenant Lantern every time. And it's interesting. It's fun getting to use different Pokemon. Like, really give Jumpluff a chance to shine. Or Donphan. Like, Donphan's my Polka Dot Cup MVP. Like, any opportunity I had to use Donphan was phenomenal. I'm
glad I didn't run. I did my only Polka Dot tournament yesterday. For those that don't know, it's the Sylph meta for the month. And I'm glad I didn't run into any Donphan because it was this month's been kind of wild. I saw 2 different Nidokings and they're running 2 different fast moves. Like one was running Fury Card, the other one was running Poison Jab. It was wild.
But Nidoking, because Nidoqueen's banned. Nidoking gets a chance to say, hey, I exist too.
Actually, one of my opponents did bring a Nidoqueen. I was like, huh? I was like,
no.
I was like, is this on your team? He's like, yeah.
Banned.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then he realized like a few seconds into it, he's like, oh, sorry, I completely should have brought the Nidoking. I was like, it's fine. Just resend it with the Nidoking in the lead instead. He's like, yeah. He's like, it worked out. But yeah, that's awesome. So talk about Girls at PvP because we've had we've had Coachina Mom on here at least once. I think only once, right? Did we have him twice? I don't know, but we had
I think just once.
Yeah, we had her on once back when Zionic was the host. But there's probably a lot of people that don't know about the history of Girls at PvP. I know at least for you, it's been very pivotal in your PvP journey and for a lot of community members too.
Right. And I don't like speak for the whole community, but I just
Mhm.
know like what the community has done for me. I've been a member of the server since the server started. Girls That PvP used to be like a channel, like an area in a different server. And then so
Mm.
I was part of that very briefly. And then we developed our own server. And it's a place, an online community where we love to meet up in person at Play Pokemon events and all kinds of other things of women. And that's inclusive to all women, so
Mhm.
trans, LGBTQ plus, very friendly community of just awesome women who are supporting each other and encouraging each other, and we're learning Pokemon PvP together. And of course there's other things we discuss, like we like throwing up pictures of our dogs and cats and birds and other fun things, like supporting each other through difficult moments in our lives, or celebrating big achievements in our lives as well. So it's just a really important place, and it's a safe place for women to come together and learn. Because
Mhm.
I know even when I was just doing the local tournaments in my community, men way outnumbered women. And it was just
Yep.
like a little small tournament. You go to a Play
Mhm.
Pokemon event, some nowadays, there's only like a handful of women in Go. And I know that problem exists too in the TCG and VGC Unite. Like there's just fewer women. There's fewer people there, and it's easy to feel intimidated. We've had a lot of kind of scary stories come out even just during this Play Pokemon circuit.
Mhm.
I know some of the girls from TCG, like they had someone come up and harass them at dinner, and that was really uncomfortable. So just having places where women can go and rely on each other, uh, yeah, and be comforted and support each other. And the big thing is just lifting each other up. My faction, we are in North America Iron. We're an all women faction, and
Mhm.
Mhm.
we're there to learn and have fun, and that's really cool too. There's a couple all women factions out there,
Yeah.
and that's really cool and supportive as well.
Yeah. Speaking of factions too, I think you 3-0'd this past week too, right? So
I
congrats.
did.
That's always a great feeling. Oh well, not only that, you've been on a roll this entire cycle. You haven't lost a single set. So
Nice.
good stuff. But yeah, I was looking at your factions earlier too, and Hurricane Kaz is your captain, who used to be one of my locals back. I guess she wasn't really. She was like a few hours away from Atlanta, but still someone that would be at some tournaments in my regionals. She beat me actually in one of the regionals, and then she also beat my buddy Palmer's up because
Mm.
they were in a Pelipper mirror, I think, and she went for the Hurricane. He didn't bait, and or she didn't bait, and then everyone's roasting him. He's like, "Dude, what do you expect? Her name is Hurricane Cash. It's not Weatherball Cash, right? She's going to go for the Hurricane."
It's true.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she loves birds. Like flying type Pokemon are her thing. So any
Mhm.
chance she has, like her Silph card is full of birds, which I think is really
Ah,
cool.
that is pretty dope. That's pretty dope. Yeah, I'm
So
seeing. I
she's
definitely see
great.
some familiar names on here. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say Hurricane Kaz is really great. Our previous captain, final boss AJ, uh,
Mm,
also really awesome, and I have a lot of great team members now. And again,
yeah.
it's cool. We're all supportive of each other. You know, win or lose. We talk about, we win as a team, we lose as a team. It's
Mhm.
just really nice place to, feel good and supportive and learn. Like the big thing is about learning, so people can feel
Mhm.
confident going to these tournaments and hold
Right.
their head high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I feel like it's no secret in esports, right, that it's primarily male dominated. I know that it's still a very young industry and it's growing a whole lot, but even at EUIC uh, last week, I saw some Unite teams that had female members, and I was like, "Oh, this really jumps out to me because it's not something that I typically see." I wish it wasn't that way, and I feel like again, Pokemon Go beginning as such a community oriented game actually has a very unique opportunity to bring more females into the space because it began as a cooperative game, right? You play the community days together, you hunt together, grind together, raid together. It's very different from other games that are just straight up competitive, and as soon as you jump into the game, you have to compete against other people. So I think that the girls at PvP movement is really important, and I think that Pokemon Go has had such a unique opportunity as well to bring more females into the space, and I think I'm sure you can see the impact of that, DPhiE.
Yeah, I definitely can. Uh, and yeah, it's definitely been a huge honor to be able to be part of the Play Pokemon sphere with everyone.
Mhm.
Sometimes, like, I thought about it not too recently, maybe not like right when it was happening, but I was the first woman to cast for Pokemon Go because Gabby didn't
Hmm.
come till later.
Hmm.
That's
So that's
true.
something I think about sometimes. Like, that's really
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
it's history right there, right?
Hmm.
No, definitely. Yeah, and especially because you've been around since the very start of Sylph as well too. I'm sure you've personally seen a huge, impact that girls at PP and a lot of women also, impacting the space has had. Because I remember specifically, I probably shared the story at least like once before on the podcast, but at Chicago for Sylph Worlds, for season 1 of Sylph Worlds, it was all the world's competitors in this like bowling alley venue. And I just remember one, it's like so distinct in my memory. I remember one competitor, one man, he like was like, whoa, there's a girl here. Like he kept saying it, right? He kept saying it. I was like, dude, I was like,
Come
yeah, like
on.
yeah, we can see too, right? Like what do you want us
We
to
have
say?
eyes. Like
Yeah, we have size.
Yeah.
I guess fortunately for them, I don't actually remember like who it was. I don't even know if they're part of this community or not. Either way, I wouldn't. It's not even important about who that guy is. But I just remember that moment. I was thinking, I was like, man, I was like, this is such a like it's already probably tough to be a woman in a very dominant space by men, and for many reasons, right? But also just to feel singled out by that. But I feel like we've come a long way since then. There's still plenty of room to grow and stuff in that area, but I do think that it is nice. And you're talking about how like, oh, girls at PB, especially at these regionals, they'll take photos against stuff. And I remember even at
Mhm.
OCIC and even in Australia, there was group photos of girls at PP and all this stuff. So I love that it's like it has a very global impact, which is
Mhm.
nice. I'm sure
Yep.
there's some women out there that still don't know about it. But well, actually, let's just throw it out there. If any women are listening to this and want to get involved in girls at PP, how do they join? How do they get be a part of
A
the?
really easy way, I'll give you all for your show notes. I'll give you a link
Mhm.
to
Okay.
my link tree has a link to the Girls at PvP Twitter, and DMing them on Twitter is a good way to get involved. It's a public server. We just ask, only this is a server by women for women and only for
Mhm.
women to make it a safe space,
Mhm.
so that's something we ask people, but otherwise it's a really awesome time. So I'll leave some links for the show notes for all of
Okay.
you to be able to get in
Okay.
contact. I can also, if you reach out to me, I can also get you in touch with the right people to get access to the server.
Nice.
But again, I think just to reiterate on some of those points, I'm trying to backtrack to where my brain was right before I said that, but because
It's
that
all right.
happens to me sometimes. But again, I think it's really awesome that we've had women representation on stream, even from just our first season of Pokemon Go. I think that visibility has been really important. And then for this season, having both Gabby and I on has
Mhm.
been crucial to be able for people at home to be able to see like this is something, this is a space where women can be. Having all
Mhm.
of those pictures, I think just showing uh, that people aren't alone, because that's scary to be the
Mhm.
only person, like to be the only woman at a tournament. That can
Mhm.
feel very scary. It shouldn't. And that's the point. Like the
Yeah.
goal is to get to a place where that's not kind of scary and you don't
Right.
have to worry,
Mhm.
especially if you're
Mhm.
going to a group of strangers and you don't really know anybody. But knowing that
Yeah.
there's a group there that is safe and is going to root for you and support you and be excited for you, uh,
Mhm.
win or lose, I think I hope to be very comforting. And I know I've had, like, it means the world to me when women tell me, like, hey, I'm going to go to the next tournament.
Mhm.
Thanks for talking about it. Thanks for
Yeah.
hyping it up. Like, that means everything to me.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, obviously part of that is being a creator in the space and kind of getting the word out, and also just like being in the creator space. There's, you're showing that you can not only be a player, you could be a creator, you could be a commentator too, right? Which I think is inspiring for many people. But
Mhm.
speaking of commentary too, because you did commentary before any official play Pokemon stuff too. How did you get into it? Was that something that you always wanted to do, or was it just
Uh,
like just came about?
It kind of came about. So the first ever commentating I did was, if you remember, Jiggly Dad's shoutcasting school
Hmm.
Mhm.
with a friend of ours, Tuo Butters, and then AJ was part of that. I did shoutcasting school, which I thought was just kind of fun. I think I did it twice. I think I did two
Yeah.
different rounds. And that was just kind of fun for me. Like, oh, this is different. This is kind of cool. But I didn't think too much of it. And then a member of the Girls at PvP community, her name is Sea Princess. She
Mhm.
focuses primarily
Yeah,
now on,
she used to
yeah,
be my local in Atlanta as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she's big into Wayfarer. Like, I would say that
Mhm.
is her primary focus now.
Yeah.
But she like put something out there in the Girls at PvP server about, hey, Sosaflow, he's looking for some, like, he really wants to have women casting. Like, that's a big deal to him. And I messaged her. I'm like, do you think I could do it? And she was like, yes. Message him right now, or I will message him. Like, she was like a big person who kind of like pushed me to do that. And Sosa, obviously, like, his energy is great, and he was super excited, like, let's go, let's do it. So I did a lot of casting with Sosa Flow over on Team Rocket PvP on that channel for a long time, doing all of his like Friday night fights and stuff. Sosa Flow is now over on the Poke Battle Network, is the place to find Sosa Flow now. But I did a lot of that, and that led to doing things like Sylph Showdown casting. I did getting involved with Sylph Worlds, doing other casts for like charity work and things. This was around the time also in 2020, I got, I started streaming because, we were all in our houses and I needed something to do. So I had I had my webcam and I started Twitch streaming a little bit. So I was making content that way as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, I didn't even know Sea Princess was involved in that, but that's really cool that she invited you to be a part of it. I'm just thinking back on it too, because my first memory of her was we met at a parking lot to do trades. This was like 2019 actually, right? End of like season 1, so going to season 2, and she didn't PvP back then, so I just like pillaged her legacy Pokemon. Which I feel a little bad about because she got into PvP shortly after. She actually almost beat me in her first Sylph tournament on like round 1 or something. I was definitely, it came to game 3. It was pretty close. But that's cool that she was the one that got you. It's just so wild when you bring up some of these names. I'm like, whoa. I was like, that's kind of wild that they were involved in all that. But yeah, that's really cool too, because I feel like you, even though I feel like you have more experience than you had more experience going into the Play Pokemon commentary stuff than a lot of the men that were casting, right? Definitely more than me. And well, Speedy's kind of weird because he just does GBLA like every week, so he might be an anomaly. But a lot of the other casters too. So
yep, and I did GBLA one week. I did Aero Draft League.
Yeah, yeah.
So awesome. So DPhiE, when it comes to your casting, I actually have a question for you. So obviously for somebody like Caleb or myself or Zionic or Butters, obviously, being men, we kind of have a lot of sportscasters to look up to, whether we watch like Sunday Night Football or we watch, a basketball game on a during the week. I feel like a lot of us derive a lot of our, I guess, casting persona from those kinds of things because we've been around it for so long, but there are very few female casters, especially in professional sports. So when you're like working on finding your own voice and kind of writing the book, the guide, so to speak, on how to cast as a female caster in Pokemon, who do you look up to and how did you find your voice?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So
curveball.
Misty, my dog Misty is over on the couch and she's like, ooh, mom's thinking about something. She better be thinking about giving me a treat, and I'm going to do that so she doesn't bark. But
there you go.
Finding my own voice. But I would definitely agree because, like, I'm certainly not into a lot of sports. I listen to you guys talk about basketball and stuff on the podcast, and I kind of
you're like what?
What's going on?
Just know that RC Cola has bad takes, but go ahead.
Formula One is my sport. I really so comment down below if you also like Formula One. If you're part of the Venn diagram of people who like Pokemon Go and Formula One racing. I would say for casting, I just kind of looked at the people in our space. I would say, like, looking at you, Will, looking at Zionic and his YouTube videos, King IV, and then just being myself as well. In terms of female casters I look at now, I think Rosemary would be the one that, like, I think she is so cool. Before, like, once, like, Play Pokemon I was starting to think about Play Pokemon, she was someone that I watched who I just think is phenomenal and just the pinnacle of professionalism. Like, I think she is so cool and, like, always dresses to the nines. Like, she looks great and is great and is such a great person. So she's someone who I aspire to be a lot like.
Yeah, those fits are something else, but yeah, I was just like, who's gonna have the second best fits going into this regional or
Yeah,
tournament, right? Because
seriously.
it's not no one's gonna top hers, right? But no, yeah, she is. I mean, she's definitely a professional. You could see because the moment she just casts like Pokemon Go once in a while, you could instantly tell like she's just so good at commentating in general. Because like it's almost like she just commentates Pokemon Go regular. Like you wouldn't even be able to tell a difference a lot of times, right? Obviously, she's not gonna bring up like very nuanced things, but you wouldn't even be able to tell that she doesn't play Pokemon Go, which is kind of wild. So yeah, no, definitely a cool one for sure. But yeah, what do you think about that, Speedy?
No.
Speedy's also on the Necro fan club, so
Yeah,
she
no,
gets
I
some
absolutely
shirts.
am. I definitely look up to Rosemary in a lot of ways, and I think other females on our Pokemon squad are also incredibly dynamic, like Sierra. Doing her work in Valorant and League of Legends. You look at Gabby as well and her history with Pokemon. I mean, she was one of the original female commentators that came in, right?
Mhm.
And she's told me before. She said, I don't think Pokemon was quite ready for me when I arrived. And I feel like a lot of women get that same feeling, which is it must be challenging, right? To come in and be something that people don't expect or they don't think is like the norm. And you're kind of shaking a lot of opinions up. So again, a lot more pressure on female casters, right? You can't even Caleb and I can wear the same suit every single show and nobody will say anything about it. I mean, I learned, okay, I won't dox him. I learned one of the TCG casters has had the same suit. Caleb, this is going to hurt. You ready?
It's gonna
Has
hurt.
been wearing,
Okay.
it's going to sting. He's been wearing the same suit for 6 years.
Wait, what?
6 years.
But are they wearing the same thing on like day 1 and day 2, like Saturday and Sunday?
No.
They're
I
changing the
mean,
shirt.
he's
just
brought the same suit to whatever event. Like he hasn't upgraded his suits in 6 years.
You gotta DM this to me because I need to.
I will.
I can't wait for the show to end before.
Yeah, but I mean, again, like the additional scrutiny that females get. Like again, we could wear whatever we want, and we're talking about fits, right? We could wear whatever we want, but the second that a female wears something that's like controversial or it's the same thing as a previous regional, they get lit up for just the most innocuous nonsense, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like again, the female broadcasters are under more of a microscope than the men, and I don't think that's debatable.
I
for many
completely
reasons.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's. I think about that in just a lot of aspects of the world. I'm thinking of like female women in the Supreme Court or women in any position that is highly scrutinized. You can't. It's not good enough to just be good. You have to be the absolute best. Like that's the bar.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the scrutiny is like you're like more under a microscope for whatever reason. I think, especially in gaming too. I don't know, I should say gaming and sports, right? Sports, I mean, there's not as many. Like, I feel like there's a lot of parallels between esports and just regular sports too, right? In many ways. And I think, there's definitely a lot of that scrutiny too. But honestly, like you all said, like a lot of the women, especially, I would say all the women in the commentary space are really, really good, right? I mean, let's not forget Lou, right? Who like casted Go in, I think it was Warsaw, like just to help Phil and stuff, and she was like incredible she's very good for first time commentating Go as well, right? And she does, usually does VGC, and then Boo, right? Frosty Caribou just came in like less than a year ago, started NAIC, and she's hilarious, right? Her commentary
started at an IC.
Started at an IC. Started at IC, right? Maeve as well, right? Just starting, right?
Yeah.
And
I love
like,
Maeve.
Yeah,
Maeve's got the fits too. Maeve's got some great fits.
She does. She definitely. I mean, that's why I'm stressed all day. Everyone talking about their fits. I was like, people don't know this, but for the casters, right? A little spoiler, right? A little inside peek into our world. We have our own Discord, and there's a whole channel with wardrobe. And it's like,
who posts there the most,
dude?
Thank you.
Who posts in wardrobe the most,
dude? Honestly, that channel should just be renamed Wholesome's channel, right?
Oh, no,
Wholesome's closet.
Wholesome's closet, dude. This man is asking for feedback on everything, right?
God.
Yeah. Next time I know, I'm gonna be like
this shoe, or this shoe. This tie with this or this tie.
This is not an exaggeration. One time he sent in like 12 suits and he's like, I narrowed this down from 50 that I was looking at. Like,
80.
Are you serious?
He had 80 and he narrowed it down.
Dude, I always tell people, I was like, if you're in LA, I'll take you to my suit guy. Like, part of me is like kind of nervous to bring him to my suit guy because I feel like my suit guy needs to like block out like a week just to help out Wholesome here. Right. But
and that's another, it's harder to find women's professional clothing.
Also
Oh
true.
yeah.
I
It's,
was-
it's
I will
less
say-
straightforward. I feel like, right? There's like
Yeah.
more things you could pair and stuff, and like
Yeah.
I don't know. My head spins when I look at.
And don't
like,
even get me
different
started on
outfits.
sizing. Don't get
sizing.
sizing.
Okay.
I have
It's-
a question actually for
It's
sizing. Yeah, go.
it's
You
brand
can say your
based.
thing. Yeah.
I got to jump in here. It's brand based and it's arbitrary. All right. You can be one size in one brand, but that's a different size in another brand. It makes no sense. And I feel like it's a disservice to women.
Yeah.
Personally.
Well, not only that, I found out like a couple years ago that so Speedy, for men's pants, you have like two numbers, right? Waist and length, right?
Yep.
For women's pants, they just give one number, which I don't even understand what that number is, right?
It's
Yeah, that's
arbitrary.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It
like,
doesn't
what
mean
does that
like a
even
10.
mean?
Like let's say you're a pant size
Yeah.
10. That means nothing.
Is that
it
the
only
waist? Is that
means-
the length? Like I don't understand.
It's a magic weird number.
Yeah.
That means nothing.
Why?
And it would mean like a 10 would be different for like Levi's than at the Gap than at like you could like we've had people like there are pictures like put a size like I'm just using the size 10. You just put the jeans up from different brands and the waist and the length they're all different.
All different.
And you can feel terrible like as a woman going to different shops and like, oh, I'm a 10 here, but then you go somewhere else and oh, now I'm a size 16 and that feels bad.
I think it's
or worse when it's just XL, like small, large, medium, like that as well. Like 2XL and an XXL isn't the same thing.
No. So like a little history about me, right? Because people are probably wondering like how I feel about this as well, and like the insights I'm about to give. So my mom had a daughter, right? My half sister, but her daughter was living in Florida at the time when I was growing up. So mom would like drag me to go shopping with her sometimes when she was leaving the mall. And she would like ask like if I thought, this combination looked good or this or that. And I got pretty good at giving feedback. But literally you go from store to store. And honestly, it feels like this insidious marketing scheme as well for women to like convince you that you need to like have a certain body shape or you need to like, I don't know, to say you're a 6 in whatever brand is like a status thing. You know what I mean? And it just makes no sense. It's completely arbitrary.
It's also just incredibly inefficient. I just don't even understand.
It's silly
thought process.
Dude, Caleb, imagine being a 32 waist when you walk into Men's Warehouse and then like a 42 waist when you go to Joseph A. Bank. That's essentially what it is.
Not even a 42 waist or 32 waist. It'd just be a 32 or 42. I don't even know if it's a waist or a length at that point. That's the crazy part.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anyways,
sorry, I think DPhiE was going to say something too. I interrupted you.
Go ahead.
No, I was like, you got it. Like Will's on it. Like that is exactly. It's to make women feel bad about themselves. Like that's the point.
Yeah. Well, I do. The one thing I do envy though, seriously, I do envy how many options women have. Like a man's suit it's going to look like a man's suit, right? There's a few things you can do with it. It's pretty rare, but women have so many combinations, so many things they can do. It's endless.
Yeah. I was talking about like the blazer kind of like and doing like a shorts with like tights under.
I remember that.
And you were like, men can't do that.
I was like, how can you pull off shorts with a suit jacket? I can't.
But you can't. But women can, and it can look really nice.
Caleb, wouldn't that be comfortable, dude? If you could just wear shorts.
You should be the one to test it, and we'll see. For the next segment, right? Back in the day, so like, or not back in the day, like a year ago, we didn't have this like a couch segment, right? Or this lounge segment, so you would never actually see below the waist. But now you actually have that opportunity. So hey, that should be the next bet. I'm cooking.
Wear shorts to a regional.
Yeah,
we'd have to get so many approvals.
But let's think about it, right? You could always say, hey, some of the women casters can wear shorts, right, with their blazer. Why can't I, right? What's production going to say, right? What are they going to say to you for that?
I'm only going to do it at the same regional or IC where DPhiE is, and she's wearing her shorts, and then I'll stand next to her.
Yes,
see,
yes. Maybe you both can sit on opposite ends of the couch, so it's like shorts on each side, right? But also, I want the opposite ends of the couch so the table's not blocking your legs.
Yeah. See. Anyways, DPhiE.
I'm ready for the next bet. Speedy was supposed to eat a hot chip today, but you didn't get it in time. So I was like, this is the perfect time because if he's like foaming at the mouth, at least like me and DPhiE can have a conversation while you're like struggling. But
miss me with that. Like, no, thank you.
Soon.
I am
soon,
not.
Though.
I cannot handle the spice.
I'll
take the spice in PvP. Not.
I try to warn Speedy because I'm just like, I know people that can handle spice, right? Or at least they say like Dijon the Jin, right? We call him Spicy
Or
for short, and he has.
Mark's son.
But Mark's son can handle spice too.
Oh yeah, he can.
Oh, can he?
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't realize that. But Dijon's like Twitch channel, like his redemption is like eating like spicy wings or hot sauce or whatever. And he did the one chip challenge on his stream once, and he had to like end his like stream cam. So I'm telling Speedy, I'm like, you agreed to this, but I'm just like, you need to prep yourself. I'm not trying to kill you, right? Like you need to drink some Pepto Bismol and something.
Be resuscitated
Co-
here.
yeah.
So
yeah, it looks
so I
like you're
feel
ready in heaven in the background.
Giramondo. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, that as well. I can't sing that one though. So I think this is a good segue, DPhiE. The next topic here: how is your experience in Play Pokemon, Ben? I mean, since you came in, since the first regional, going on to this full first season, what do you think?
It has been such a warm welcome and such an amazing experience. Like, I'm just so fortunate, and it's incredibly humbling. One thing we did talk about, Will, is I can't believe that you have gone back and looked at your old footage, like your first official cast, because I don't think I could get I was petrified nervous. I felt so bad for Jim because I was so terrified in Indianapolis. I think I've improved, tenfold since then because I'm not petrified nervous anymore. But you didn't there's no crash course on.
No.
Like, they were just like, go be yourself.
Yeah, there's no warm up.
There's no
It's
warm
not
up.
like
examples.
Yeah, it's not like you can be on the show for 1 hour and then you're off. Like, you literally lock in for 2, basically 6 to 8 hour days. That's it.
Yeah, so that was really hard starting off. Just not even really knowing how to prepare and not really knowing what it was going to be like, because that was the first one in North America. Was Indianapolis was the one I did in that first season. And then afterwards I was able to okay, this is everything I wish I could have done better, and these are all the ways I can improve. So definitely I feel like I've grown a lot as a caster, and a lot of that is with the support of the cast, like all the different casters from North America, from Europe. We have a really good community with just the TPCI people, the casters. With VGC and TCG as well. And Unite coming soon. TM
coming soon.
Yeah, coming very soon. Yeah, I don't. So I remember watching that Indianapolis stream because I was actually at a friend's wedding in Chicago. Sounds a little bad. Hopefully, she never listens to this podcast, which I don't think she will. But when she was when they were walking down the aisle, I definitely had my phone open on mute, right? Because it was Dijon versus. I forgot who Dijon was facing, but he was facing someone. I was like, I gotta see at least Dijon close out the set before I close the phone, right? They weren't exchanging vows or anything yet. They were just walking down the aisle. So I was like, had it in the corner. But actually no. They actually already walked down the aisle. I was a few minutes late because I couldn't find the building, and they started that wedding on the dot. I've never been to a wedding where they actually start on time. So I fumbled the back in many respects there. But anyway. That aside, I remember when I was at that wedding for that weekend, I was at a pizza place. I was just eating pizza by myself and had the stream open on the side. It was just me, romantic dinner with myself, eating pizza and watching Indianapolis stream. But I personally didn't. I mean, I'm sure you're a lot better now than you were then, but it didn't even seem awkward or anything at all. Too, I was like, wow, they're killing it, And I know, Speedy and Butters.
We're our own worst critics too. I can
also true.
We are definitely our own worst critics. So
well, for me, no, you don't even have to say nothing. Everyone could be my worst critic here, because if you look at my Frankfurt stuff, I'm shifty eyed. I'm not even looking at the camera. You know how many times it took me to take a screenshot of an old photo of Frankfurt just to compare? Even in those photos, I'm barely looking at the camera. I was it's I don't even know how Speedy dealt
and
with
I
this.
was zoned in on the camera. I thought this is the
opinion.
only maybe that's better, but I didn't even know. I'm just gonna look into this, and but then I wasn't looking at Jim, which is also a problem. I was just very stiff, I think. And again, it's probably better than I'm making it out to be right now, just because it is me thinking about my own first cast. Other people might judge it differently than I would, but I feel so much better. And I love like after a cast, I'm like, y'all, that was great. Like we all
Mhm.
like I have a lot more like enthusiasm now.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
the
of
best one
course.
yet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I feel like every time I go to regional with you, you're like, man, this was my best one yet. I was like, it probably is. Like
Yeah.
everyone's just getting better and better, right? It's always great to hear too. And I mean, as rough as we were to start off, we're kind of like the trailblazers in this space, unofficial starting point. So it's been cool. And of course, Gabby coming on definitely helped the whole group a ton, right, with her wisdom and stuff. And you and Gabby actually
Mhm.
casted together. I think on
Yes.
at least one of the days. Was it in Baltimore?
Baltimore.
Baltimore, yeah, which is
Yep,
pretty
Baltimore just day one.
pretty huge too, because I remember Gabby said like, hey, like I would love to do like a dual like women cast if possible, because
Mhm.
I mean that's monumental in many respects, right? Especially for Go too. So first women to cast for Go, first person to be a part of the dual women to cast for Go, I think speaks a lot there too, which is pretty awesome. But
No, and
yeah.
again, it's humbling. It's like the support and just again thinking about that. I can't think of another word other than I'm just so much
Mhm.
gratitude.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, DPhiE, I've never told you this, but I was actually in an Uber. I believe I was just checking my notes. I believe it was in Toronto, and the topic of you came up, and we're actually discussing the Pokemon Go casters in the Uber. And one of our producers just heaped on the praise and said DPhiE has improved so much over the course of her tournaments. Every single one she's getting better, and it's visible. It's easy to tell. In every single one, she's more comfortable, she's more fluid, she's more dynamic, and I thought that praise was really, really nice. And yeah, sorry to drop that on you right now, but I've been thinking about that.
And yeah, I feel it too. It's great to hear that other people see it, but that's
Mhm.
definitely something that I've been feeling. And it takes work. It takes a lot of self-reflection and thinking about and I'm definitely more comfortable rewatching my most recent casts and picking them
Sure.
apart. That's a little bit easier for me. But yeah, it takes a lot of work and a lot of practice.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that speaks to the kind of commentator you are, right? Because people that aren't as critical of themselves, they're just not going to improve, right? I think
Yeah.
regardless of anyone's starting point, it's really your ending point and how you've progressed, right? Which is the biggest testament there. So I agree with those props. I think it's very good. But speaking of play Pokemon stuff too, what is something you would like to see from like the competitive sphere of the official tournament circuit? As well, not only as a caster, but you've also competed yourself too, at least twice. I know at least
Once.
once at NAIC, right?
Yep, and I
Yeah,
hope to
you're
compete
on stage,
at
yeah.
NAIC again
Mhm.
this year. I'm hoping, I want to see, just like Will, you were saying, like let's get it to sell out right away, 256.
Yeah. Come on.
But hopefully not too fast because I want to be able to compete too. So,
Fair.
but yeah, I would like to be able to compete at NAIC again this year because that was such a fun experience. That was
Mhm.
really cool.
Mhm.
I think and again, I know you already brought this up, Will, last week
Mhm.
because I listen to you guys every week. I'm a
Oh.
consistent listener,
She
not
is.
just a
Thanks,
guest.
DPhiE.
And I've been listening since the Zionic days, so
Mhm.
it's been almost 100 episodes of listening, which has been
Wow.
pretty.
Yeah, those
Been with
days were like they were fun for sure for Zanuck, but we were definitely more inconsistent. So I was like,
Yes.
surprise episode 3 weeks later from now, But I appreciate you being a longtime supporter of the podcast.
Yes. Very good content, very good stuff.
Nice.
But to answer your question, I want to start by saying just how much we've improved. And again, going back to your point, Will, from last week, Daniel, like I was waiting for you to say it. I'm like, Daniel being hired has been such a good thing.
Oh, yes.
For Play Pokemon, for Pokemon Go. Like he's done so much good work. He's been such a positive influence. He's incredibly like creative and he's got big ideas. And yeah, I think he's just been able to execute on a lot of them as well. So I give a lot of props to Daniel because just the tournament experience, going from most of our tournaments having like that AM and PM split
pods.
to the split. Like that
No
was
one
a
likes the
terrible
split pods.
experience. That was probably the worst part of NAIC for me is I was in the second pod.
But you had to show up for the morning pod too,
But
right?
I had to show up for the morning pod. And then I'm just sitting around waiting. And then my opponent no-showed. So I had to wait even longer to give them time to show up. So I didn't get to play until like really late.
Jeez.
So that was not fun for me. But yeah, I think we've improved. I just want to see ways to, and again, I don't necessarily have like the golden ticket answer, but I'd love to see more ways to get more people involved and more people excited, like people who are going to these events for TCG or for VGC, get them to experience Go a little bit. And maybe that's like a first step program for Go. If you're not familiar with first step, it's what the TCG has. It's kind of like a beginner's guide to like how the trading card game works. I went through it at NEIC. It was really, really nice. Just like how do the cards work, and what do you do it, how does a turn work in TCG? I think having more of that, something like that for Go would be really helpful. I think the big thing is just getting more people involved is what I would like to see, to have bigger and better events.
Yeah. They correct me if I'm wrong, but when they have the play lab, is that the play lab is the TCG, right? Do either of you know
Yes.
that? Yeah. Okay. I saw that EUIC too. I didn't walk in because I was like, I don't know, I was just tired, but I was like, it's kind of cool. Like they're like teaching people how to get into it too. I would love to see that. I mean, I think accessibility is always an issue for Go, but I think like Worlds last year where they had research breakthroughs where you get Pokemon that are like PvP relevant through it, like those were great ideas, I think, to get more people into it. I know Go wants you going out there and grinding and stuff, but it's hard to build a competitive team like overnight, right? Actually, it's almost impossible, but that's
the barrier to entry for Go is very high.
Very high.
Yeah. No.
So finding ways to get people involved and finding ways to make that barrier less high, to make it just a little bit more accessible to people is what I would like to see.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That'd be good. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Daniel his hire was definitely something else. Like, I think I could speak for everyone when I say this, maybe besides Daniel, that he has exceeded everyone's expectations.
Oh,
right.
yes.
Which is not to say that people had low expectations. It's just that I don't think anyone would have had that high of an expectation of what he'd be doing. Right. I honestly didn't even know what he was supposed to be doing, but I was just like, oh, he's just not a producer. He's going to make sure the stream runs smooth. But just like idea after idea. Right. Which is pretty awesome. And he was a member of our community beforehand, right? This wasn't just some random broadcaster, which is why I love that Mel got brought on too, because she was a member of our community since season 1, right? And like forever, right? And been involved in many of the grassroots stuff and tournaments. So having her officially on as well, it's just like
I'm really excited to see what she does with her position.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I was gonna say I feel like infiltration is like a negative word to use, but I feel like we have like successfully infiltrated TPCI, right? Or like we successfully got our own to be
our
like
people
a
are
part
in.
of, our people are in. Yeah. Like I mean, nothing wrong with like them picking someone outside the community, but just like they had to learn so much about Go, right? To even like get to the point where Mel and Daniel are at.
Yeah, and I think it's always important to note as well. I mean, Pokemon is literally one of the biggest brands in the entire world. They had their pick of anyone. They could have gone to any other esport. They could have gone to any other company or corporation and just, sniped away a worker or recruited somebody else. But instead, they chose somebody from our own grassroots community. I think that speaks leagues not only about Pokemon, but also about Daniel and how impressive he was. Right.
And he is very impressive. Like, I can't, because I didn't really know, Shadow Z, all that kind of stuff. Like, I didn't follow him.
Well, you saw him at NAIC, right? In his full suit.
Yes, that's when I met him. That was the first time I ever met him. So that's.
I think that was the first time I met him too. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was my first time too. But yeah.
Like, and he was trying to like talk to me, and I was on the phone, like I was video calling my husband as I was walking, and then so I had my earbuds in, and he tried to say hi, and I was like. What is happening right now?
Fast forward a few months later, he's your boss.
I know.
He's our boss.
Could not ask for a better advocate for Pokemon Go PvP though.
Yeah, agreed. So even some of the stream improvements that we've seen, like I don't know how much you got to watch of EUIC DPhiE, but like the pre-show casting from the lounge, even the backdrops with all the LEDs behind the battle stations on the stage, Daniel's had his hand in a lot of that. So again, to Caleb's point about like what you would like to see in the future, it feels like things are expanding and accelerating, and Go and Pokemon in general is kind of like stepping up closer to what the bigger esport titles look like. I mean, this is again very theoretical. This is like a mental exercise, but what could you see in the future? For me personally, I would love to see like an AR showcase where everyone in the stadium could like lift up their phones if they're playing Go, and they could watch like a battle between the 3 legendary birds in AR, like they did for League of Legends years back, right? That would be super sick. I mean, what else do you think we could see? Not to put you on the spot or anything, but
I know, because it's what is something that I would like to see in the Play Pokemon experience that would just be insane?
I mean, we could shave Caleb's head on stage. That'd be fun.
That would be, that would be very fun.
Dude, you need to actually win a bet for that to happen, man. Let's
Hey,
worry
careful.
about the first step of the problem, Speedy.
Hey, man. If you want to keep your hair, you better hope I don't win the bet.
I guess something, and I really do think this is an attainable thing, would just be to have instant replay. Have instant replay. Like have
Agreed.
2 lounges. Like you have your like the lounge that we have right now, and then have a smaller like analyst lounge, kind of like in American football, you go over with like, and then he went here, and then you can have the marker and like, okay. And note here is where they undercharged, and being able to pause and continue. I think that would be really a big benefit for the production side of things.
Yeah, that'd be really cool too.
As well,
when we have downtime between games too, you could like talk about the hype moments, because like after the hype moment's over, it's over, right? We can talk about like, whoa, what an incredible catch they had, but you can't really rewind it, right? You can't really watch it over. So you can only talk about the fun times so much without like any visuals there for viewers.
Yeah. So,
cool.
So 2 points. I think the analysis and the breakdown is really cool. I think the 2 games that could use that the most are probably Go and Unite, just because they're so fast. You want to go back and be able to actually highlight why things are important. Obviously in VG, it's turn-based. You have like, however many seconds between turns. You can actually think about it, digest it. And if you watch a lot of other big esports as well, they'll have like a break where they're transitioning casters. But instead of just having like a "we'll be right back" or like a video or something, they'll actually have like a replay designation on the screen. And then they'll just play back like 20 to 30 second clips of the previous matches. So you can see like what's been going on while you were away. And I think the replay functionality would also include that, which would be cool.
Yeah. And we had 5 casters for EUIC. We had like a host person. I think if we were to get a host for like regionals and just all the Go tournaments in the future, like that 5th person could just be doing stuff and on the breaks. Like we wouldn't even need a break, right? I mean, I guess they got to play the highlight reel somehow, but like once in a while. But I think it would be cool to just like have someone just be like, oh, well, let's analyze the stuff while the casters are switching out and setting up and stuff. So.
And that'd be a good time to bring up topical things like, the big 3, but do it live in terms of, hey, let's think about Speedy's big 3 video. Let's talk about which one this particular trainer used, and being able to pull things. We just watched that video. Let's take a couple minutes and talk about how that applied to the match we just watched.
Yeah, definitely. To switch topics a little bit here, I know you talked about this earlier, but you're a part of a podcast, which I don't actually know when you started with that, but it seemed like you've been involved in GoCast for a while too. You want to talk a little bit about your experience there? Because you were probably podcasting before we were, right?
Yeah, I've been doing PvP Corner. I'm going to pull up when our first episode was, because it was in 2020.
Oh,
it
okay.
Was,
oh, wow. That's definitely
so it
before
has been
even me and Zionic, yeah.
Yep. So PvP Corner debuted on the GoCast podcast on October 9th, 2020. That was our first episode.
Okay. Wow.
And PvP Corner. So the GoCast podcast is a family-friendly Pokemon Go podcast hosted by Chris and Kyle, who are fantastic humans out of the greater Chicago area. They're both Illinois boys. And they've had their podcast for a while. And I was a moderator, as so was Fish on a Heater, runner-up at OCIC this year. And we were just kind of joking around on a Twitch stream, like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if the mods took over? And what would this moderator do if they took over the podcast for a day? Oh, if DPhiE and Fish took over, it would just be PvP the whole time.
Ooh, could you imagine?
Could you imagine? And then Chris was just kind of like, yeah, you guys should do that. And then we brought him an idea like, yeah, maybe we could just be on 15 minutes, just be a quick little snippet every episode we could easily find 15 minutes of PvP stuff to talk about each week. And then Chris and Kyle were both okay and just let us do that. And we started about 15 to 20 minutes each episode. It's a weekly podcast. And then it became, 25, 30, 35 minutes, 40 minutes. And it's been that way for years. And then very recently, we kind of decided, still within that same GoCast feed, but to separate out PvP Corner. So then we can have like long form episodes if we want to. Like we can have a guest on and talk for 2 hours and not make this one gigantic, then put it with the actual GoCast show, which covers, the news and all the events. And they have a Pokepoll and a Gear Up section and emails and voicemails. So adding on to that, it ends up being like a 5-hour long podcast. So instead, so now it's actually really good for all the listeners because they get 2 pieces of content each week instead of just the one huge piece of content.
Yeah, it's also easier to find too because I definitely listened to some of the PvP Corner when it was like all in the same episode. But now that you all have separate episodes, unfortunately, I'm not listening to the longer episodes, but I am listening to all the PvP Corners, which is cool because you could just click on each of them, which is very nice too. So it's just for those that are curious, I believe it's just called GoCast podcast, right? Yeah,
GoCast podcast.
So you can find
that link is in my, like when I give you my link to my link tree, that's in the show notes as well. Spotify is like the easiest place to find them, but they're on any podcatcher.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's been going on for quite a while, which is cool to see. Yeah, so you all do 2 episodes a week, right? One with like the main episode and one with the PvP Corner.
Yep, so the main episode is just Chris and Kyle, and they might have a guest or do something. And then it's Fish on a Heater and I. Okay. So Fish and I only record once a week, which, you know, could be difficult to do more than that kind of time zones with my friend in Australia.
Yeah, that's true.
Fair.
It's hard enough to coordinate once a week. I think it'd be a lot tougher to do like multiple times in a week.
Yeah, that was the thing with me and Zionic too. He was like, well, I'm even further time zone now that I moved to LA. But yeah, it was definitely a struggle. Speedy and I are G-Gen, so when we can't coordinate, it's just that we can't coordinate during the daytime when we're both.
Yeah, exactly. There's like something else going on. So I just had this realization, DPhiE. So you and I, this is actually pretty funny. You and I are 2 casters for the Pokemon Company, and both of our co-hosts have actually qualified for Worlds through the Play Pokemon Championship Series, right?
Both co-hosts only got second, couldn't close it out either.
Also correct. So lots of parallels there. I just wanted to ask you from your personal experience. I know like you and I talked about this around OCIC. You probably talked with other casters as well, but just like if you wanted to speak publicly on it some more, how did it feel when your co-host and friend Fish on a Heater performed so well at OCIC? And again, it's like this global aspect of Pokemon Go, right? Like you said, hard to coordinate with your friend in Australia, but you've made it work. And seeing him like succeed all the way across the ocean. I mean, again, we're all connected by this game in a unique way. And I think you have a very unique story in that regards.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was so excited, like watching the stream, like at weird OCIC hours. And also Chris, who's a big fan of Fish as well. So Chris was in, was it Vegas? Yeah, Vegas was during OCIC.
Yeah.
So Chris is in Vegas with someone else from the GoCast podcast. They're sitting at a bar with like a phone and they're just like fish. And I'm sitting at my house and I have OCIC on my TV and we're like DMing like, oh my gosh. And we're like screaming like he's in Vegas. I'm here and we're screaming. So excited for Fish who just deserves it. Like just needed this win. And we were just so hyped. And it was just like, that was really cool. Like, he's got, like, our boy's going to Japan and just, like, flipping out.
That's awesome.
Like, the hype was real. I think my favorite thing Chris messaged me was like, is this what it feels like to like sports? Like, is this what liking sports is like? And I'm like, yes, this is what liking sports is like.
Yeah, especially
our
if you have
team
like
is winning,
right?
Fish.
Yeah, Team Fish, like someone that you're rooting for. Like anytime I have a teammate that's doing well at a regional, I'm like, when I'm commentating, I gotta be unbiased, right? But in backstage, if I'm not commentating, I'm on the admin table. I'm like, yo, let's go, let's go Auburn, or let's go, Well, it's mostly Auburn was the one I was cheering for. Ramberto was hard to cheer for because he's my opponent, but it's fine. I'm having fun too.
We all do that, I think, a little bit. Like, we have the people we want to really win. Like, we're cool and unbiased. We give good comment. I think we're all really good at that. But then, when we try. We're like, woo!
No, I won't say this is DPhiE in particular, but when Khaleesi Fitzy has a couple of tough games on the stream, or Bird Power has a tough break, somebody's pressing the cough button I'm next to, and they're like, oh, damn it, Just saying.
I thought of
I'm a big Rise to Occasion fan too.
Rise as well.
Like, he's doing well, and I'm like, cough button, let's fucking go. Let's go.
Let's go.
I am really glad they don't have our face cams when the games are going on.
Oh, dude, I know.
It's
hard to be on for that long. Like, I can't imagine like keeping track. Even just now, like, I keep like thinking back to like, oh, I'm on camera, and like just thinking back to like, how am I sitting and all of that. That would be so hard to do for an 8-hour.
Yeah, especially for an official thing, right? Like for a podcast and stuff. Like, not that I don't care about the podcast, but at a certain point, I'm just like, whatever. If you hate me, you hate me, right? If you're a score trapper, you're a score trapper, right? Like, what do you want me to do, right? Like,
And I was but on I know the boys are gonna wear T-shirts, but I got like a nice shirt on. I got
a little Valor representation. I like it. I like it.
Nah, man.
I know. I'm just. I gotta take what I can get.
Yeah. The mystic reveal for all of our YouTube viewers.
Yeah. While you're all talking about that whole thing too, I thought of another similarity that both of you have too. Besides, co-caster parallels. There's at one point in time both of you didn't even have a beard too. So definitely a lot of parallels.
It's true.
Will and I are also big Fall Out Boy fans.
That's also true.
Boy.
I've been all over that album, DPhiE. I listen to it all the time.
Wait, they come out with a new album?
Yeah, and I'm gonna go see them in concert this summer.
Wow.
Will, you've got your picture with the whole band.
I know.
What? Like, they're not doing a VIP like picture thing. Like, I'm not gonna get that.
Wait, where's this picture at? You need to share it. But
it doesn't exist because I don't have a beard in the photo, so you can't see.
Yeah, you need. Help us out if you have a picture of it.
Like, I've gotten some secret access to seeing Will with the band.
That could be a future bet. The picture reveal.
Oh, yeah.
That's
like a punishment.
That's
right?
not even that bad of a punishment.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's a really cool thing.
We'll do like a race like veteran punishment.
You could go. You can go to anybody's Facebook and find something like that. Be like, oh, ouch.
Oh, now that you say that, maybe I'll just do some digging myself. Detective Caleb here. Maybe I don't even need the bet.
After Onion Frank started posting pictures of me in the GBLA Discord, I've just changed all my privacy settings. So. No chance.
But see, this all could have been avoided if you shave your beard on time. Because if you shave your beard on time, people wouldn't have to go and look for photos of you without a beard to pressure you to get your old look back, right?
Oh, wow.
Karma, man. It all comes down to it. Speaking of bets too, I know we have Swine Up Community Day coming up, and me and Speedy usually have a Stardust bet. I'm curious. We're going to take. I want to hear your ideas around this, DPhiE. What should a punishment be for the person that gets less dust? Assuming neither of us are weather booster, or we had, if one's boosted and one's not, then it's just all bets are off.
Then we just negate it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a very topical one would be having to use a Great League Mamoswine in like the Open Great League, play that for a day.
For a whole day for 25 battles?
Yeah, 25 battles. You got to use.
Holy crap!
Or you can adjust it to whatever you two feel comfortable with. But
we can do 20. Yeah, I think 25 is enough.
I think that would be.
It's plenty.
I think I
want a few times after that one.
Yeah, you've got content. You get content out of it. Again, not
the
worst punishment.
I'm all about giving Speedy more content, so let's do it. I like it. I like it.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I'm down for that.
How about this?
I don't think you should be required to use Ancient Power though, because that's just pain.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. Do we want to do Ancient Power now? Because
Ancient Power is just bad. It's bad.
I have a question, DPhiE, but I'm afraid of the answer. Are you ready?
Yes.
Can the Mamoswine be Shadow?
Well, I mean, it's your bet. It's not the bet that I'm laying down.
But
for
we
you.
would feel guilty.
How much more
We would feel
frail do you want
super
this thing to
guilty.
be, though?
I was, yeah, that too.
Dude,
Like, does Shadow even help this
let
thing?
me check to see.
You
if
actually
I have
need to
one.
knock things out. You know, you need to knock things out with the
You
shadow
don't think-
bonus. But
Okay.
that's the thing as well. If the bet was inspired by DPhiE, would it make sense to do shadow Pokemon in her spirit? I don't think so.
Now
I
I
wanted
gotta,
to play the
like,
shadow.
what cup is it going to be right after?
Well, we're gonna have Great League for another like 2 weeks or so, a week
Okay.
or so. So we should just. You definitely have to use it for Great League, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Dude, I have a shadow one I potentially could make.
It's about the same. You flip a couple things. So with the shadow, you win against Alola Ninetales. You beat Lantern, and you beat Kofagrigus. But the shadow does lose some matchups as well, like against Shadow A9. You actually lose Pelipper as a shadow.
Yeah, because that weather ball probably one shots you.
Pretty much. You lose G-Fisk as a shadow as well, so it's a trade off.
That's what.
Well,
I'm
I'll let
saying.
you decide, Speedy, once you lose this bet if you want to use shadow or not. You know. I will say though,
he's pretty good though at the Stardust.
Dude,
ones.
he is. The only one he lost was the one where he was at Orlando and he couldn't like grind for a while because he had to. Did you have to write the script or something? Or
yeah, I had to write the wrap up script. So I only played for like 30 minutes, and then Caleb was like, "Yeah, the bet still counts."
Of course it counts. That's on you, man. You should have told James you got stuff to do. You back in 3 hours.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Caleb. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to see
our
you tell. I'd
producer.
like to see you tell James that.
Oh, that's not. That's
got a bet
Speedy's
to win.
problem. Yeah.
I can't do my job because I have a bet to win, but pay me anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you know what James would
Sure.
say to that? He'd be like, "You're already losing to the bet to Caleb, right? Come on now." Remember at EUIC, you asked the production team like who they got their money on, me versus you.
Let's not discuss the UIC. We don't want to talk about who killed the stream for a minute.
Oh, God, we already talked about that last time, right? I take full responsibility, right? Speedy paid me $100 to kill the stream, and I did it.
Oh, what?
Oh, man of my word. Actually, speaking of EIC, it was actually really cool that after the Ghost stream was over, we were walking behind towards backstage, and there was like people spectating the TCG stuff. There were a bunch of people playing Go Battle League. It was kind of wild. I was like, whoa, they were doing some GBL while watching TCG. I was like, okay, like, it's kind of cool. That's one thing I like about Go is like, it seems like a lot of people at least casually play it, right? Because like you're just at an event, there's a bunch of stuff. Why not, right? Like a lot of our co-casters for VGC and TCG and even Unite, like they play Go right casually, which is kind of cool. But yeah. Right. Well, I love that idea. Let's do it. Let's do it. We have a tea segment. I told Stephanie about this ahead of time too, but I asked her for some ideas. I actually don't think I looped you in on this, Speedy. I was like, what are some tea segments you want to talk about, right? Because we talk about a lot of stuff. And honestly, it could just be the general Niantic incompetence of the week, right? Starting with their tweets, the now deleted tweet. It was the reviews for Going Outside are in. It was like 95% tomato, 100% popcorn. It was like a Rotten Tomatoes reference or whatever.
Yep. So at Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato is the actual like critics, like people whose job it is to critique, and audience, like anybody in the audience would be the audience review, the popcorn side.
Yeah, the popcorn.
Yeah. On top of that,
just
they
in such poor taste. Like I can't even like.
Dude, that Niantic Twitter does the weirdest stuff though. Did you see the one where they had the dancing bears? And the bears were like twerking and stuff.
I don't know which intern is running that Twitter, but they're one of the biggest Zoomers I've ever seen.
Isn't it Blutner? Didn't he change his
Twitter
name? I think he changed his Twitter name to Niantic's unpaid social media intern.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty much.
Dude, wait, you know what's more wild? It might not even be an intern. It might just be a full-time employee. Hopefully it's not the one that listens to our podcast, if there is one that listens to our podcast.
Right.
You never know, man. Yeah. If it's not you, but it's your coworker, man, help a brother out, man. That's humble to, figure out. But there were a bunch of tweets from Niantic support as well. There are a few things, right? It was part of the announcement or part of like something where they said you get like extra XL candies this week for this week's event. And they like completely roll that back, right? And then
It was, I have it. So
Tough.
trainers, we'd like to clarify that there's an error with our infographic for the Sustainability Week
Mhm.
event bonuses. The stated half distance to earn candy with your buddy Pokemon will not be available as a bonus for this event.
wouldn't
So
have
instead
killed
of,
them to implement that, right?
yeah, you could have just like put it in like, oh,
Mhm.
surprise, didn't mean to do this, but, and it makes sense with all the other things they're doing, like all the
Yeah.
buddy stuff.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
that would be very thematic for Sustainability Week.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
I mean,
and people were already going
I
out
just-
and doing buddy hearts, right? Like, why not?
It reminds me so much of the treatment that PvP has gotten for the past 2 to 3 seasons, where the blog post comes out, it's filled with errors, the image assets aren't updated, the cups are named incorrectly. It feels like that kind of lack of care and lack of attention is bleeding out into everything else. And again, like, you know, we reference a lot of memes, right? It's like first time being here, there's a crap ton of errors.
No, not my first time.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's so embarrassing too, man. This is a $9 billion company with, you know, hundreds of millions of active players, and they literally can't write a blog post. It's like,
And
Dude, they
it's
just
not
need a
even that.
proofreader.
Like, there's so, let's cover all the other stuff and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
okay,
and then we can
okay.
really
Let's do it.
dig in. Because the first one I think of the week, on the 18th, there was an error in the blog regarding eggs too. Like they said it was going to be, we had previously stated that a certain Pokemon would hatch from 2-kilometer eggs, but it's actually 7-kilometer eggs. So that was a mistake. And then on top of that, also on the 18th, if you were like me and had your Mystic Hero special research reset,
Mhm.
just like spaghetti code, like all of a sudden your page 3 is reset. But then they just gave it to everyone. That one they did like a pretty good, like, oh, our bad, here you go. But like, why is that? Why did that happen? Like,
Yeah.
what spaghetti noodles in the code got crisscrossed?
Yeah. And they didn't even tell players it happened either. So I saw lots of posts on Twitter of people saying, wait, what happened to this step of my research? It just like vanished. Right. I don't understand what's going on with it. And you had to go to Twitter to find out. Like they didn't tell you in the game. So imagine all the again, millions of trainers who aren't active on Twitter and are like, wait, my game just skipped a stage and I don't know what's happening now.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yep.
come on.
And then later it just completed, and they're like, what? Why did this happen?
Yes. Yep.
And
Yeah.
also like apologizing for the confusion. For the Sustainability Week, they put like a really short ends in for us in 2 days box free item bundle. Did that get announced in the news section? Like,
I
did that
think
get announced
so.
in app?
Yeah, it was somewhere. It was either on, I don't know if it was announced on app, but it was on Twitter that they definitely announced it.
But
yeah.
not in app.
Not in
So
app,
if you're
yeah.
a casual player and you don't necessarily check the shop every day, because you don't, maybe you're free to play or you just play casually, you're
Mhm.
not going to know that you can get like a free couple incubators and a poppin'.
And you had to collect
Mhm.
it within like a 24-hour, 40-hour span, because I saw someone try to claim it and they couldn't because like it was expired. It was so weird. I mean, the fact that it's still even available to be claimed and then you couldn't claim it was absolutely wild to me. I don't know if you two saw this, but I got an announcement, an actual in-game announcement about tuning in to EUIC, right? The Europe International Championships. I got that announcement after I got home from London. Did you all get that like after the event was over, or was that just me? Because I remember I was just like, wait, what's the point of this announcement? It even
I
said like
definitely got an
7 days
in-game one
ago.
for something. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it like
Mhm.
popped up like 7 days ago.
Yeah, I'm like,
Like, I've been getting some of those too.
what's the point of
Yeah.
announcement that gets like pushed when it's 7 days ago news? Like, I was so confused.
No idea. No, I don't think I got that, but I saw a bunch of people on Twitter post that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey,
I thought it was just
little
my own
late.
error. Like I didn't refresh my news or I don't know what, but I think it was just late for everyone. Speaking of
Mhm.
Sustainability Week, do you all remember back in the day? Because especially because we've all been playing the game for years.
Mm.
I feel like the first time they had Sustainability Week, or it was like a Earth Week or something, they had a bunch
Mm.
of in-person community events, right? And like
Yeah,
if you go
cleanup
to enough, you
events.
get like in-game like bonuses, right? If enough people sign up. Is there anything like that this week? Because
The
I don't
Not that I
understand.
know of.
Sylph is doing something still.
Yeah,
Like, where they have like, hey, if you clean up your community, you can get this badge. But
right.
nothing
Mhm.
official.
See, that's so weird. Like, I get like Niantic like trying to be like, oh, this is our mission or values, whatever. But they're not even doing what they used to do, right? And they're still like cutting down the actual in-game bonuses. Like, what's the sustainability part of Sustainability Week? Like, you have more people just catching Bonsui outside. Like, I don't even know.
Yeah, right.
Like, they could have done something super easy about like Like, I know this is way overdone and I don't know how much it actually helps, but we're going to commit to planting this many trees, or we're going to put this much money
Sure.
into
Yeah.
this, depending on how many bond
Something.
sweet are caught or how many
Yeah.
whatever are caught. We are going to put this much money into an ocean cleanup fund.
There you go.
Not hard.
Mhm.
Free ideas.
Well,
like
and the
Niantic
fact,
employee, here you go.
yeah, and the other thing is they've done these events in the past. Like it's not like,
Mhm.
oh, we don't know how to do it because it's our first rodeo. Like they literally did this years ago. Why not just build upon the infrastructure you had before, implement similar strategies, right? Hit up the same orgs that you partnered with back in 2017 or whatever, whenever they did it. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
I don't
And
know
it's
what's
just
going on.
it doesn't seem like so much is their priority right now. I don't know if they're just putting all
No.
their priority into their new games and that's where they're shifting focus.
Yeah,
But
what's that
that
called?
seems like a big mistake considering Pokemon Go is what makes them their money.
Periodot, right? What was it called?
Yeah, Periodo.
Periodo. Hey man,
I'm not gonna play it. Like, I
I'm
don't
gonna be
know.
I'm gonna be the biggest Periodo caster there is in the world. Watch out.
Competitive Periodo.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But then what I was gonna say earlier, because I just wanted to like cover all the tweets and like get that out of my headspace.
Yeah, let's do it.
But it's not even that because Niantic, again, it's not like a small indie company. Like they're a big they're a big company, but also they represent like on like their stuff. They have the logo for the Pokemon Company, which is the biggest company, like the biggest IP in the world. Like, how do you make errors? Like, how do you make errors on posts that have the Pokemon logo on it? Like, it's not even a Niantic thing. Like, how do you do that to Daddy Pikachu and have Daddy Pikachu be okay with it? Like, how does that work?
I think that's a great point, DPhiE. And that's what I've honestly started to wonder, right? Because it's like if somebody else was licensing your IP, let's say you own another brand like Jurassic Park, right? And Jurassic Park, I guess, news releases are getting pushed out and they're full of errors because this company you're partnered with is like mishandling your IP. I feel like at a certain point that has to frustrate TPC, right? Or they have to be annoyed by it. I mean, how does this just keep happening? I don't understand.
It's weird too because I used to work in communications and like I would send out official tweets or things on the website. If there was ever a typo and me and my boss didn't see it, like I'd be stressed the moment that hits online, right? I'm like trying to edit that instantly, right? Let alone before people start memeing on it. I guess like there's a lot more eyes on Niantic stuff than some small public health nonprofit, but still, like before it even goes live, there's like I have at least another pair of eyes reviewing it. Besides me just looking over to and be like, I need to make sure there's no typos because I'm not trying to get chewed up by my supervisor. But on top of that, if I'm going to get chewed up by a supervisor, at least she's going to catch it, right? Before it goes out. I just don't understand like there's like no checks and balances almost, which is just wild to me.
Okay. To build on that, even if you're not going to pay somebody to do that, even if like, let's say you just can't have an employee to do that, Niantic has partnered with some pretty fantastic human beings. I know I'm sitting amongst them, but for PvP specifically, who would probably be very happy to proofread for free the blog post. Like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think there's plenty of people in that group who would happily take 30 seconds to look it over for free in exchange for seeing it early. We'll proofread it for you. Like having some kind of like very. Am I wrong?
Maybe the week before. No. I was just to your point, DPhiE. I mean, we can knock it out in like 10 minutes or less, and then it would be error free. We could verify any kind of questions that they're unsure about, right? About like encounters or anything like that, and it would be quick. It'd be super quick, and that's what I just don't understand. Like, how can you have this is just PvP we're talking about. How can you have a global event for all trainers and you don't have 10 minutes of your entire day to have somebody else read that and proof it? I don't understand.
Or even again, like not even for the PvP group, like for the sustainability, you've got content creators. Let them see it earlier and let them help you proofread it. I don't, because I'm sure these events are planned like way in advance.
way in advance.
Like they are. Like, I'm sure like next year's GoFest is already probably in the works. Like, and they have that mapped out, like what that's going to look like.
Dude, just tell us when the dates are for this year.
Yeah, I know. Also that.
It's just like, I I don't get it. I mean, okay, so something I was just doing now is I pulled up their Glassdoor, right, for Niantic.
Ooh.
I'm not going to read through this stuff because there's like people that dropped whole novels on this stuff. There are definitely some positive reviews, but the positive reviews aren't very detailed. But the negative reviews, oh, they're detailed. They're detailed, all right.
I know. And again,
but-
I always want to specify too, whenever we kind of like are pulling our hair out, we know there are great people at Niantic who are working on
Mhm.
this game. And there is no reason, even if you're frustrated, to like lash out at people on the
Yeah, of
internet. Like,
course.
don't be that guy.
yeah,
Don't be that guy who's makes death threats on the internet. Nobody will like you. Nobody will want to be your friend. So
That's
stop
true.
it.
And it won't help anything.
And it doesn't help.
Yeah,
It doesn't. It's not,
like-
you're not going to
Well-
change anything.
Oh, yeah. User like 472 threatened me, so I'm gonna go and change everything on Niantic now. Right?
Yeah,
No,
doesn't work
that's-
that way.
It's very ineffective use of
Yeah.
your time. But so I know there are awesome people who work there who are doing their best. The problems are coming from higher up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll see if they get it together or not. I mean, the good news is they do work with TPCI. I don't know how much influence they have over them, but I'm always hopeful that there's some type of potential pressure they could apply to them to help, get their stuff together. Get their stuff.
I think it's honestly based on all these things that have been happening over the last 3 months. I think it all comes down to priorities. It's like, sure, you want to run a marathon, but you need to tie your shoes first. You need to actually like drink water before you go run.
Dude,
Like you need to do
put
the
on your
basic
pants.
things right.
You need
Yeah,
to
you
put on your pants.
yeah, dude,
You
they're
need
Not
to wear
even tying your
clothes.
shoes. You got to put on your pants.
Dude, they're dehydrated and also like tying handcuffs to like the ankles at the same time
Yeah.
for this marathon. Like,
Yeah, and I don't know if the distraction is Monster Hunter or Peridot or whatever the hell else they're forcing their team to work on.
who
But
knows?
seriously, you need to brush your teeth in the morning before you like start your
Dude,
workday.
okay, you need to say this analogy again. I don't know if you heard this like a few weeks ago, DPhiE, but this analogy
can't
you
remember
made,
it
it
now.
just did not resonate with me,
No.
and I don't like. You say it again, Speedy. Let's
I
hear
can't
your
I
analogy.
can't rember it now. It's out of my
Dude,
memory.
I just know
That's
someone
probably
did
for the best.
not. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
I have to
PP
listen
Steve
back.
not like it too.
I can't remember. See, I mean, Steve loves Whalmer. Whalmer has huge teeth. He knows all about brushing.
That's true. Anyway,
All right.
what an interesting time to be alive. Yeah, I mean, like, even I feel like there were a lot of times back in the day, even before PvP dropped, I like loved a lot of the Pokemon Go events. There was like,
Yeah.
like more like I remember there's like you get more dust for catching ground or grass types or sustainability. I like back in the day before PvP, I was walking around like just still catching it. Like I was like, I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I was storing Stardust for back then, right? Like it's not like I was just collecting stuff. Like,
Do you
we didn't even
remember
have
like
stuff to
OG
use.
Halloween? Like the first
Oh yeah,
Halloween event?
yeah.
That was
well,
busted.
it
and
was,
just
yeah.
insane.
Mm-hmm.
That
Like
was
I think we
fun.
need some of that serotonin in this game right
Yeah,
now.
Well-
and also the endless waves of events, right? Go ahead, Caleb. I was just saying, like the endless, like back to back events is also kind of draining, right? Because then we're comparing them all, and they don't hit the same anymore. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons too. Like, I wouldn't mind certain events being longer. Like Halloween event, just make it 2 weeks, right? Make it a whole month, right? I don't like, like no one's going to complain about extra Halloween spawns, but more like, Galarian Yamask, right? In quests
Yeah,
and
exactly.
extra candies and stuff. But yeah, you're right. Like I think, like DPhiE said, like the first Halloween event, incredible, right? And then remember when raids first dropped, you be getting like 20 golden ras and like 30 like rare candies per raid. It was amazing,
Mhm.
right? And of
And
course
just
they
people
just completely nerfed it.
swarming. Like I remember like Lugia raids when they first
Yeah.
dropped. You have like
Yeah.
40, 50 people, even in like small communities.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like that
you're
was nuts.
you're nerfing the rewards from raids now, years after it's been released. Like you're not going to get people more interested in raids, right? It's just, I don't know. There's just like I feel like they're just like basic logical fallacies they have in their strategic plans just don't make sense.
Mhm.
Like it's like so like whoever's running, I don't know. It's probably multiple people, right? So I'm not pointing fingers, but whoever's making a lot of these decisions, I hope to God they're never planning no parties, right? Because that would be the most
Oh my
boring party
God.
ever, right? Like they should never be a party planner of any sort. Even if it's like their kid's birthday, they should leave it to their like
Mhm.
significant other or friends to help host it. Because
You know what I would like to see? Again, free ideas for Niantic. And I'm sure somebody has thought this up, but I want to see more events that are tied to actual like global events. Like
Yeah.
things like Sustainability Week is linked to Earth Day, like that idea,
Mm.
but to other like religion and culture events, like more Day of the Dead
Yeah.
type stuff, more
Yeah.
like Festival of Lights.
We had an
Mhm.
International Women's Day event like years ago, and they had a bunch of Nidorina
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
And they were
and
shiny, and it
Nidoqueen
was
spawning. Yeah,
that was
and
cool.
Ralts, right? Yeah, like female Ralts. Like those are like I don't like Niantic, you've literally done this stuff before. Just do it again. Like it's not that hard. You don't have to
It was
only
successful
redo
the
like
first time.
yeah, it was fun. Like you could build on top of it. Obviously, there's more like female Pokemon now in the game than there was. Like you can switch it up, but like
Mhm.
you have a
Have
template.
only
You could
female Combi spawn in the wild because
yeah,
I have a 98%
Mhm.
shiny male, and it makes me upset.
yeah,
It
dude,
makes
that'd
me
be
He's
upset.
great.
useless. No offense to him, but he's useless. So
Yes,
Yeah,
he
I
is a
mean,
male.
honestly, men in
correct.
most, I will say, like males in most species in the planet are pretty underwhelming. Not gonna lie, like there's just like they're all like the like ants. Like they just literally just use them for reproductive purposes and just like kick them out. It's kind of
true.
wild. Yeah.
True.
Or they're
There's
just there to look
spiders.
pretty. They're there to look pretty, like the male peacock or the male cardinal.
Mhm.
Like they're
Yeah.
there to look. They're there to look
Yeah.
nice.
The praying mantis, like your guy
Yeah.
is-
Yeah. Praying mantis.
yeah.
Or the anglerfish. That one's even scarier.
What does the anglerfish do?
Look, I'm gonna let everybody look that up because
Okay,
it's
Oh, no.
horrifying. It's actually
anglerfish.
male female anglerfish. Like I'll summarize it, but I want you guys to look it up because it's actually kind of horrifying.
Oh
They
my
like
God, I'm looking
the
it up right now.
female anglerfish is the big one with the light,
Mhm.
and the
Oh,
male gets
no.
like absorbed. Like he gets stuck onto the female, and she literally like absorbs him
Wait,
into
what?
his
It's
skin.
that much
It is like
smaller? It's like a really
Yes.
It's, what? The
yeah, the
heck?
males are tiny compared to the females.
How does
Says
that even
it's-
happen? That's like it's just wild that they're the same species.
Like he like disintegrates into her. It's
yeah.
very
The male becomes parasitic and never releases from its mate again, feeding from her blood. What
Dude.
the hell is this?
I don't know. I feel like there's some bum husbands that are like that in real life too.
Yes.
Maybe the size difference isn't as big, but I feel like that's a.
In human nature, it's more metaphorical, but it's still accurate.
Dude, it's just like
Uh,
some men that don't even know how to do their laundry, right? Not just men, but there's I find like
True.
there are typically more men than I was like, how do you not know how to do laundry? It's wild.
Yeah, true.
It's
So think of that next time you see a lantern, everybody.
yeah, we're
It's-
facing the female.
It
lantern for
looks
sure.
horrifying. Like if you ever see a video of it, just random trivia knowledge.
Wow.
Male and female anglerfish. It is horrifying.
Dude, I learned something new today. I never would've thought.
You're welcome.
Right?
Yeah, Lantern
Cheers.
and Pokemon Go, they gotta be all female. It'd be like a Tim Pole with a male like
Mhm.
version of that.
True.
But anyway.
Nature, you crazy. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, we covered a lot of things today. I mean, is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to share, Stephanie? I mean, I got time to talk, but I know it's getting late for both of you.
No, I'm good. I think we covered a lot of really, really good stuff. This was an awesome conversation. I'm really happy to be on. We got some
Yeah.
good, general Niantic blunder tea
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that we got to
to-
discuss.
Dunk on them a little bit, right? Deservingly so.
Yeah, deservedly so. Well, thank you for being a part of the podcast. Thank you for the punishment idea for Swine Up Community Day. I mean, I'm going hard, See, I know you usually win the bets when you have time, but I don't know what's going on in Mississippi, right? You must be crossing the
We'll
border
see.
to get like an extra hour. Like you must be going to Eastern
Hey.
time zone somehow. I don't know, playing 4 hours or something. But
Hey, man.
I'm
There's
gonna win this
casual
one.
and there's committed.
all right,
So-
well, how about this? Loser has to stream sometime next week their Mammal Swine sets. Fair?
Okay.
You got to put a deadline on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we still be waiting for this Bastion usage forever,
Dude,
Like,
we actually after we end the interview with DPhiE, we should schedule that coming up.
okay, you tell me when, right? Like,
Dude,
don't
I'm
be
just
like, we
tell-
should
okay,
schedule. It's been
okay.
like almost like
I'll-
a year.
Well, dude, it depends
Sounds
on when
like
you're
our first
available.
bet.
Depends on
I
you're
mean,
available, right?
I'll make it work. But
Okay,
yeah,
fair.
that'll be good. Maybe you do Swine Up one day and Bastion next day, or
Oh,
even
that sounds
better,
wonderful.
I got a great idea. This is gonna be perfect. If you lose a bet, you do Mammal Swine and Bastion in the same sets. Mammal
Oh,
Slime
God.
Bastion core.
Dude, no. In my mind, I was like, yeah, I'll gain Elo with Caleb's stupid Basti team, and then I'll lose it all with the Mamoswine. All right,
Yeah,
that's
now
how
you're
it's gonna
about
work.
to. Now it bounces out, right? You little-
It's a roller coaster.
yeah, yeah. It's only going down.
Yeah. Well, DPhiE, I wanted to give you another chance here as we wrap up to plug PvP Corner and GoCast again. Where can people find it?
Yeah. So again, I'm gonna give all of you links in the show notes to find me. GoCast podcast. You can find that anywhere in any podcatcher: Spotify, Google Podcast, iTunes, whatever place that you find it. Spotify is really cool though because GoCast, Chris and Kyle have the video version, much like Caleb and Speedy do. So that is something cool to check out on Spotify. To find Fish on a Heater and I also want to shout out I want to shout out a lot of the girls at PvP for being so awesome. So I really want to shout out that server. There's a lot of women in there who've been super influential to me. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Enhoff and how awesome she has been and what a great friendship that has been and how much that's gotten me through, and just everyone in that community being so fantastic. So shout out to the girls at PvP server. I'll put a link to their Twitter. DMing the Twitter account is a good way to get started. If you're a woman who wants to get involved in the server, it's a great place to be. Really just, I don't know how else to say it. It's just comforting, and we're all there for each other. Just a lot of camaraderie together, which is fantastic. If you want to see me on my own, you can find me on, obviously, like the Play Pokemon streams on Twitch and on YouTube. I have my own Twitch channel, having a unique username. It's pretty easy to find me places. DPhiE250 on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and TikTok with all the youth. I don't.
the TikTok too. I gotta check that out. I'm so bad
I
at
don't.
TikTok.
I'm bad at all of content creation. What I do where you're going to find me most consistently week to week is on GoCast podcast and a little bit on Twitch. I'd like to dive more into the content creation sphere and be able to do even just a little bit more with that. I like Instagram AR photos. So you like on Instagram, I have a bunch of those. Just try to find other little ways to get involved in the greater content creation community, but I'll put all those links in the show notes for everyone. And again, thank you so much to both of you for having me on. I've been listening for 96 episodes now. Get to be a guest. Very cool.
Yeah, I apologize for not getting you on sooner, but we're glad to have you here, and it was a fun conversation for sure. And maybe we'll get you on, like we'll bring you back, right? We gotta bring back the guests too, and maybe check up like a year from now or whatever. Maybe we'll check up. Maybe what we should do is we should reconvene at the next sustainability week and see what has changed. What has changed, right?
All right, it's a date.
Nice.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Exactly. We got it. And if we forget, just remind us, right? Everyone remind us in the comments too. So DPhiE doesn't have to
exactly.
like, oh, it's coming up, sustainability week next week, right? So we'll find time. But anyway, thank you so much for being a part of the show and sharing all your stories and stuff, and also teaching us about the anglerfish, man. That's an image I can't unsee, but that's going to be something I'm just going to visualize in the future.
You got to put it in. Got to put it up on YouTube for our YouTube people. Like a clip.
Yeah,
it is.
Or it'll be good. It'll be good. I'll just throw up.
Just blur it all out.
You know what? I'll just throw up. Yeah, something would be wrong there. Anyway, thanks all for tuning in, and we will catch you all on the next episode as we're closing into episode 100. And I will share my public embarrassment story on episode 100, the classroom one.
It's a good story.
It's a great
story. Everyone.
I've never shared it on this podcast. I shared it
highly
with some
worth
people
it
in real life. Yeah, I used to
over some drinks.
Oh, good call.
Yeah, you can bet I'll be sober when I'm sharing this one on episode 100, and it's gonna be an awkward time. But you guys stay tuned for that. Until then, peace out.
Peace.